All right, everybody, welcome to our Wednesday Zoom call, our Thriving Lives podcast on here. Hopefully, everybody's had a great week so far. Today's topic that we're going to be talking about are ways that we can optimize our sleep. In particular, I have about 15 different things that we can do. Some of it will work for some people. Some of it, might not necessarily work for what their ideal is. But, if we can kind of cross off a couple of these different things, I think it would really, really help a lot of us get better sleep. Starting things off a little bit different this week. I want to try a new little format. So first off, I'm going to start with a couple client wins. This is from check-ins over the past week or so. First off here, Ryan Clausen, one of my best friends, he joined with me back in February, and he is officially down February 1st. He's officially down 40 pounds. He went from 203 down to 163. I actually just made a post about him on social media here like 10 or 15 minutes ago. He's doing absolutely amazing with it. Usually I wouldn't, expect somebody to lose weight like that, but and I don't think he'd mind me kind of sharing some of his lifestyle, but he loves his craft beers. He loves, drinking, processed foods and things like that. He's a good cook as well. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of inflammatory foods and stuff like that is what he would normally be having with it. He's worked with me a couple different times. The goal with this one, all the past times he did it, it was like little short, 8-week programs and stuff like that, which I don't offer anymore anyway. But so now his kind of next steps are to reverse diet. We're going to try to maintain that 165-ish weight that he's currently at, and maybe gradually, just through being a little more flexible, stuff like that through the summer, building more muscle, maybe get up to like 170. But ideally, we're going to go from, I don't know exactly what he's at calories off the top of my head right now, but either way, I would love to be able to add at least 1,000, if not 1,500 calories to what he's currently eating over the course of the next, handful of months. So that way, once the holidays and stuff get here, his metabolism is revved up, it's on fire, it's ready to handle, the surplus of food that the holidays kind of bring. A second big one here. My stepfather, not my stepfather, my father-in-law, Clark, who I don't have any progress pictures of him, but he suffered from a heart attack last, I think it was right after the first of the year. So he was in the hospital for, I don't know, a handful of days or something of that nature. And, his lifestyle wasn't awful, but I mean, lacking a lot of exercise. Really no exercise for the most part at all. I would guess anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day, possibly max, especially since COVID. He's worked from home probably a majority of the time. So, lack of exercise. I wouldn't say the worst diet in the world, but also not the best diet either. So I'm proud to say that since leaving the hospital, he's dropped 25 pounds with me. I think he's about in his early 60s or so. So that was awesome to see. That's one of those situations that, did he want to make all the couple different changes he made? Probably not, but he also saw that, it was impacting his family. It was impacting his longevity with his family and going to potentially take away the things he loves doing. He loves traveling, loves hiking, loves camping, that type of stuff. I say hiking. He hasn't really been able to necessarily hike, but just loves being outdoors. But now being down 25 pounds, he's getting up to, anywhere from 5,000, 10,000 steps a day. It used to take him a handful of days to mow their yard, which they live on a decent amount of square footage with their or the acreage, whatever you would call it. But now he's able to do it in just one sitting with it. So he's walking a whole lot more. Like I said, being down 25 pounds, really changing his lifestyle habits, his nutrition, which, my favorite clients are those that are my loved ones, my best friends, my family, things like that. Because I know that not only is it changing their life, but I get more of those people because they are prioritizing what they need to be doing. And then lastly, this is a check-in from a client. So we have, she's done an amazing job for a handful of months. But so as a lot of you, if you haven't seen this before, you will at some point. We all need to do what's called a reverse diet. I've done many different Zooms on this. We talk about this fairly frequently. I've won. So in this situation, she was really struggling. She was struggling with starting the reverse diet because she wasn't happy with necessarily where she was. She's made amazing progress since she started, but she, and respectfully so, she has a little bit of more body fat that we both would like to get off of her. And ideally she would get to do that before, she goes on a trip later on this summer, not too far out, maybe a month or two from now. But ultimately what it came down to was, and this is one of those tough situations where a client really wants something. And ultimately we've got to do what's best for them, not necessarily what they necessarily want to do. So in this situation, based off of her progress and where we were at calorie wise, where we were at macro wise, cardio wise, workouts and stuff like that, and what was actually feasible in the next month or two, we just weren't going to be able to get to where she wanted to, at least not without extremely restricting and doing, taking more aggressive measures. And that's not worth it, especially for a lifestyle client who just wants to go look a little bit better at vacation and hit a certain number on the scale. So in this situation, she did the hardest part, but what's absolutely crucial, she communicated that, where she was at mindset wise, why she didn't really want to start this reverse diet, but just, she was kind of stuck in the middle of needing, wanting to do it all, understanding the importance of reverse dieting. But so we hopped on a phone call. And, so what we kind of talked about on the phone call was, hey, we can sacrifice the long-term of your health, sacrifice the long-term goals to try to see what we can squeeze out of this next couple of months. We're still going to have to reverse diet, but you're going to be sacrificing a whole lot over the coming months to be able to get ready for this one vacation you have. We could do that, but my best recommendation is let's start reverse dieting now. Let's get your calories up to a decent amount. So when you go on that vacation, it's not going to make that big of an impact on your weight and your body and things like that. Then we continue reverse dieting. This is a long plan, but if she can stick to it, which I think she definitely will, especially after this phone call we had, she's going to do amazing with it. But so we'll reverse that. We will gradually start adding food back in now. We'll do that for the rest of summer. We'll do that leading up into the holidays and try to get her calories as high as possible. And then once we get those calories to a level that is sustainable, that she can eat that much food, but not so much where she just feels sick all the time from eating so much food, we will maintain that level for a handful of months through the holidays, through October, November, December, and probably even into January-ish. So that would be about, at least 6 months, if not 7 or 8 months, not being focused on losing weight, which is also really good for our mental health. It's also really, really good for our metabolism, our thyroid, our hormones, all that good stuff. It allows all that stuff to get back to a really healthy set point instead of just always being in this caloric deficit. And this will probably be a topic that we talk about soon, is, the seasons of life and the cycles of dieting that we should ideally go through versus always being in this cut phase. And then we binge for a couple of weeks and then we're pissed off about all the weight that we gained. So this is going to set the table. It's a longer term process, like I said, but if she trusts it, this is going to set the table so that next year, in January and February, when we go back into another cut, we're going to really be able to do some damage and really take off a lot more body fat than what we could possibly do in the next couple of weeks. So again, she had that hard conversation with me, was very vulnerable with it. So that was a very, very big thing, that she was able to do that. And so now we're on the same page. We're kind of know where we're going, and I'm excited for the future with her. Now the next piece that, I want to kind of talk about here really quick before we dive into today's topic is, my own kind of personal check-in. Sometimes I'll do this in the Facebook group. Sometimes, we'll kind of talk about it here. Here lately, kind of going through the normal check-in questions that we have. To be honest, ever since my vacation that I went to in Los Angeles, I came back and my hunger just hasn't been the same, and it's been very, very difficult for me to hit all my macros. And I'm eating a lot of food. I'm eating close to 4,000 calories a day, so it's understandable that's a little bit difficult. Part of that has been my routine and my schedule change. Before I went to LA, I was working, Monday through Friday, my normal work schedule and things of that nature. I was eating my first meal earlier on in the day. I was having 2 or 3 meals, at least probably about 3 meals during the workday, and then only 2 meals at night. And, since I've kind of got into trying to find my new footing, my new schedule, my new routine, it's just been kind of difficult to get some of that food in. And, this is something that I always say, whenever your schedule changes, whenever you get back from vacation, it's very, very important to lock back in. Again, in my situation, it wasn't reeling back into eating. It was not eating enough with it. So fortunately, I've got my routine back into a good spot. So it took about a week and a half or so to really get into a good spot. But so now that's finally kind of firing on all cylinders. I'm back up to my 420 grams of carbs a day, 100 grams of fat, and 200 and probably 60, 70 grams of protein. A lot of food. But so that is now kind of back in check. sleep workouts for me have been pretty solid as well. I'm kind of dealing with a little hip flexor issue, seeing the chiropractor for that, doing a lot more stretching. One new thing that I'm trying to implement with my new routine is getting up, and before I do any work, before I do anything else in life, to sit down and do some yoga. So I have this membership that I'd be happy to lend out to you guys as well. It's from the Yoga Collective. It's pretty cheap as well, but they have just a huge catalog of yoga videos. And so this is something that, they have 10-minute ones on there, they have 20-minute ones on there, they have hour-long ones on there. You can specify what you're trying to work on. So there's, for instance, with me with my hip flexor issues, I have specifically been doing videos targeting just that. This morning, actually, I took my yoga mat outside and did it on the back patio, and the sunlight at like 7 in the morning was a great way to start the day. If you have time for that type of thing, it's fantastic for you. So I'm excited about that new routine. And then, sleep for me has been a little bit off here recently. My supplements are all the same. I think it's because I'm sleeping in a little bit later each day instead of getting up at, 5:30, 6 a.m. for work and workouts and stuff like that. So I think it's because I'm sleeping a little bit later. I also think it's the underlying stress. I don't have an abundance of stress right now, but the underlying stress of a baby on the way. If you guys didn't see as well, we made some social media posts about it yesterday. We found out that we are having a baby girl come October 22nd is our current due date. So I'm very excited to be a girl dad, from teaching elementary school. I love the boys, love the girls. The girls at that age, at least elementary school age, are so freaking awesome. And the boys are usually, I'm like, where the fuck is your brain at? Do you think before you do anything? They're just always into some bullshit, always just being dangerous and stuff like that. And the girls are always just so precious for the most part. So I'm really excited to have girls, or to have a girl. But anyway, enough of all that stuff. And thank you, Nick, for the congrats there. Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive on into the topic of the day. So this is talking about bedtime routine. So, I kind of took my own struggles recently, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. So to optimize our sleep, and this is something that a lot of people will really struggle with. You're either really good at sleeping or you suck at it, and you're not prioritizing kind of the right things. Whether you are a workaholic and you're just working up to the point you need to go to sleep. Maybe you are a binge watcher. Maybe, it's not the work or the binge watching of Netflix, whatever the case is. Maybe it's just that's your only time during the day that nothing is happening, nothing is distracting you, and then your thoughts start kind of flowing in. And, so some of this is going to kind of pertain to how we can also kind of fix that as well. So I've got a list in no particular order of 15 different things that I thought about earlier today that I thought would be kind of good for it. So number one is put up your phone. A lot of the things we're going to talk about here are things that ideally you're doing about 2 hours before you ideally want to sleep. So let's kind of start with that first, how to kind of map out when to get in bed, when to go to sleep, and when you need to wake up. So you need to figure out, obviously, what time is your alarm going to go off in the morning? What time do you need to be stepping out of bed to get your day started so you're not in a massive rush in the morning either? So whatever time that is, so let's say, just for number's sake, it's 6 a.m. You need to be awake at 6 a.m. That's what time your alarm is going off. So ideally, you are physically asleep by 10 o'clock. That would give you a little bit less than 8 hours, because even though you're asleep from 10 to 6, and that is 8 hours, we naturally wake up throughout the night. And, ideally it's less than about an hour. But like if you have like any sort of a sleep tracker, which we'll come back to as well in a little bit, that'll show you that you have just these small little wake up occurrences. And so ideally it's less than an hour. Ideally it's like 45 total minutes collective that you're up throughout the night. Most of this, we don't even know that we are awake. And it might be just be going to the bathroom or whatever the case is. But so ideally you're asleep by 10 if you need to get up at 6. If you can be asleep earlier, fantastic. But so if we want to be asleep by 10, depending on what your routine looks like and how you like to spend your evenings, ideally you're in bed by 9 o'clock in that situation. That's very difficult for a lot of people to do. But if we prioritize this stuff and we get our body and our routines down with this stuff, it's pretty easy to kind of maintain with it. But so put up your phone. That's first and foremost. Ideally 2 hours before you want to fall asleep. Some people, my wife has no issues. She can scroll on social media. She can scroll on whatever the hell it is that she's doing on her phone sometimes and be able to just pass right out. A lot of times she's fall asleep just looking at her phone. Now, is this, even though she can fall asleep, stay asleep with no issue, Is that still optimal for her? No, it's not. There's still a lot of blue light that she's getting in her eyes, which disrupt our sleep cycles and things of that nature. And I'm sure it's just not as optimal sleep, but she can still fall asleep. So it's not a huge deal. So I don't get on her too much about it. Other than when I just want some, quality time without our phones and stuff. But that's usually not that common for her to do that anyway. But so ideally 2 hours before you fall asleep. So like what I do is, after this call, probably around 8 o'clock or so, I'm going to go put my phone on the charger in the bedroom. And that's it. I'm done with my phone for the rest of the night. I might record what I'm eating or my nighttime supplements or something of that nature. But usually I'm done posting. I'm usually done doing anything on my phone after 8 p.m. My phone's on do not disturb or whatever the messages will kind of say, that type of stuff. So that really, really helps me. Avoid stressful conversations. That's number 2. Stressful conversations, stressful thoughts. It's important that you have this agreement if you're sleeping with somebody else, if you have a partner, if you have a husband, wife, whatever the case is, to have that conversation and not put on some really rigid rules with it. But, Nicole and I, we tried to, any sort of a stressful topic, unless it is absolutely urgent or it is dealing with a problem that we are having, because we don't want to go to bed upset. Like I'd rather sacrifice my sleep to handle whatever our issue is and not go to bed angry and wake up angry and have a shitty next day. So I'd rather stay up till 2 a.m. figuring shit out sometimes with her versus just go to bed angry and not dealing with whatever the issue is. Now, with that said, other stressful conversations, if I'm stressed about a client, if I'm stressed about the day or whatever the case is, ideally we're having those conversations, but they're earlier in the night, ideally. Ideally, we're not getting in bed at 9 o'clock and then just dumping all this stress, because anytime that's happening, I can feel my cortisol raising just by the thought of it. And I know that's and then I'm stressed because now this stressful conversation is now causing me more stress. And I know it's fucking up my sleep, which is then causing me more stress. But so having some of those kind of guidelines that, our bedroom or our bed is a safe place, that we're not dealing with all the stressors of the day or whatever the case is, at that time when we're just trying to wind down and get some good quality sleep. So again, ideally at least the hour or so before you're trying to fall asleep would be ideal to avoid those stressful things. Eat your last meal or snack about 60 minutes or early before wanting to fall asleep. Now, me personally, I can eat fucking an entire 1,000-calorie meal and then go to sleep pretty easily, not long after that. But ideally, and just, based off like my sleep data and stuff like that, still best to finish that last meal, or if you're having one of your snacks off your diet plan, to do that about 60 or so minutes before you're ideally trying to fall asleep. So if you want to be asleep by 10, you're finishing by about 9 o'clock, or whatever the case is. So that would be kind of your meal. Some people, you really don't want, ideally you're not having a giant meal anyway right before you go to bed, ideally. So hopefully, you're eating that bigger dinner meal earlier on in the evening. You don't have to stop eating after a certain time. It's not like you're going to magically just gain body fat because you ate after 7 p.m. or something like that. But still, you don't want to go to bed absolutely full, but you also don't necessarily want to go to bed absolutely starving either. So kind of find that middle ground with it. So that was number 3. Number 4 is before ending your work for the day. I keep a checklist, I keep a to-do list, and I'm looking at all the urgent things that I have to get done today. Now, that might push me sometimes till 8 p.m., depending on, what's going on. Ideally, I'm getting done at 5 or 6 p.m., whatever the case is. But regardless, one of the last things that I'm doing before I shut my laptop, I put my phone up or whatever, is I just kind of review what does tomorrow look like? Do I have any urgent matters? What time am I working out? Am I working out tomorrow? Do I have my meals ready to go? If not, do I need to go do it now, or do I have time in the morning to get that done? I'm just doing some of that review stuff. And part of that is so that I can, when I go lay down to go to sleep, I'm not having all these thoughts pop in my head. Then I'm reviewing them. And so that way, when I actually do shut my laptop and I actually do put my phone up, I know there's nothing else more that I need to be doing. There's no other stressors. I've already dealt with everything I have to today, and whatever I couldn't get due today, I've now moved it to tomorrow or a day that I know that I can get it done. So that helps you, ideally alleviate some of that stress, and extra things kind of pop into your mind. So it's worth that extra little 5 minutes of just reviewing things to make sure that you are good to go. Another component of that, which I wrote further down, but I think it kind of goes hand in hand with that, is a gratitude journal. So this is something that any of my clients that struggle with, Usually it's like an optimistic mindset, or they are struggling finding joy in things. They are a very pessimistic person, whether it's about themselves, about their life, whatever the case is. So it's called the 5-minute journal that I always recommend to clients. I do this too, as well, especially whenever I'm going through times where, mentally I'm just kind of sucking on some different levels. And so essentially, simply put, I've talked about this before, but simply put, it's in the morning, first thing in the morning, you go write in this journal. You write down 3 things that would make today great. It starts with a little quote, which is always nice to read first thing in the morning, but 3 things that would make today great, and then 3 things that you are grateful for. And so the whole purpose of this is you're not trying to write down the same shit every day. Like I'm not going to write down Nicole every single day on that. I'll use her the very, very first time. I'll say, Nicole, boss in my house. And then I won't use them again. I'll continue doing that. And really, if you could just stick to even just a month and commit to just doing a month, that it helps a whole lot. And at the end of the day, so when I'm saying you kind of use this is another way to kind of say, hey, I had a great day. I reviewed it and I'm feeling better about myself because of all the things I did today. So you write down, I forgot exactly what it is off the top of my head. Let me grab it real quick. This is what it looks like. So it says 3 amazing things that happened today and how could I have made today better. So just a subtle little reflection at the end of the day as well, is another good thing to do. So again, those of you who feel like you're really needing something like this, you're struggling with that gratitude, you're struggling with that optimistic mindset, you're just only seeing the negatives in your life. It's a fantastic thing to do. Again, whenever you do it, I would just say commit to 1 whole month of it. If you can do it longer, fantastic. But usually I've always found in my situation or with clients is that usually a month is that sweet spot. If you can do it for about a full month, you start making some changes in just your mindset and stuff like that. But regardless, coming back to kind of, since it's the nighttime stuff, another one on here. So this would be number 6, enjoy relaxing time with family, spouse, or alone time, whatever that kind of looks like for you. So if you have a significant other one, ideally you're enjoying some relaxing time with them. Hopefully your nighttime routines are including one another would be ideal. And this also just releases those good, happy endorphins and stuff like that in your body whenever you're enjoying time with loved ones. Number 7 would be avoid super stimulating shows. So I'm somebody who I've always watched TV before I go to bed. I turn it off whenever I'm going to sleep, but I'm going to watch it literally, up until the point that I'm like, all right, I'm about to fall asleep, or all right, I need to turn on the TV so I can go to sleep. But I'm avoiding super stimulating things. I'm avoiding things that are dark or depressing, or, I don't really get scared of shows, but avoiding scary things. I'm avoiding stuff that has to, that makes me think a lot. I'm putting on something that's going to put me in a more relaxed state. So for me personally, that's usually stand-up comedians, or that is, I'll watch, YouTube podcasts of comedians. Big fan of Nate Bargatze, big fan of Theo Vaughn and people like that. So I love listening to those, because then when I'm falling asleep, I'm literally falling asleep with a smile on my face, which is a great way to go to sleep. Some people, you might like nature stuff. Some people, you might like documentaries because it's boring and they just kind of talk you to sleep. But regardless, we want something that is not so stimulating and that we can just kind of ease and turn our mind off. Bob's Burgers is another one. That's one of Nicole's favorite, and she falls asleep almost instantly and just kind of puts her in a little happy place. Number 8 would be take your bedtime supplementation. So really everybody, for the most part, I have at least taking magnesium, whether that is magnesium glycinate in capsule form, or a lot of people, I'll just have them take Calm Magnesium. And you can mix that into a little drink. It's tasty. It's change it from water. And then again, it's a really, really good source of magnesium as well, which will help put us in a relaxed state, help out with muscle recovery and a multitude of other things. And then whatever your other supplements are, so I have a lot of people that have higher stress days, higher stress jobs on things like ashwagandha or phosphatidylserine, or Cordy's from New Ethics, depending on kind of what their stressors are and things of that nature. If you're depending on kind of where you're at, and really I have a lot of people on glucose disposal agents, GDA Max, berberine, things of that nature, especially if you're having carbs at nighttime, a good time to take that as well. Just to help kind of control that blood sugar as you're going to sleep. So whatever your supplementation is you're supposed to be having at nighttime, obviously include this in that. Really, all those supplements I just mentioned, again, if I need to go to sleep at 10 o'clock and I'm getting in bed around 9 o'clock, that's about the time I'm probably going to be taking these supplements. Usually that's with my last meal or my last snack, whatever it is that I'm having at around 9 p.m. or so. I'm taking these supplements with that. Number 9 would be coming back to that calm magnesium, or some sort of a drink like that, or sleepy time tea. During my competition preps, when I'm really struggling to fall asleep, I will lean on some warm sleepy time tea. That's what it's called. I don't really know what's all in it. Either way, it just helps kind of put you into a nice relaxed state as you go to bed. So that might be some people's kind of their preference. A hot shower. So I'm somebody who, as soon as I get home and I'm home for good and I'm done sweating for the day, that's when I'm taking my hot shower. But if you can take that right before bed, a hot shower, a hot bath, whatever, that'll help you really get into a nice relaxed state. And so you can go to sleep. Number 10, or no, that was number 10. Number 11 on this would be stretch. So, ideally, if you can back those things up, do a hot shower, followed by some stretching, maybe stretch in the shower, whatever the case is. That stretching will also just relax your body, put you in a really nice at ease state as you're going to sleep. Number 12 would be blue light blocking glasses. Mine are on my bedside table. Sometimes if I'm working later on the evening, like past 7:30 or so, I'll usually throw those babies on. Some of you see me here on the Zoom calls with them on as well. Essentially just blocks the blue light. I don't know enough about it to really go super in depth. All I know is the gist of it is that it helps block the blue light, which fucks up our sleep rhythms and things of that nature. So you can, if you're gonna be watching TV or on your computer or on your phone much, especially as you're getting closer to bedtime, something good to utilize. Number 13 would be read. Reading does put me to sleep, even if I'm super energetic and then I start reading, it does make me tired. I'm not one to go pick up a book, but a lot of people, they do like reading. If you don't have a TV in your bedroom and you prefer to read before bed, fantastic. You are ahead of the game and you are absolutely crushing it. Now, even in the same situation, if you really do love reading, if you're reading things that are super stimulating, you're reading something and you struggle putting the book down to go to sleep, that's the same thing as if you were watching TV and you were super stimulated and don't want to turn the TV off. So again, know who you are and set whatever rule it is you need for yourself so that you're not reading, super late at night. I already said kind of gratitude journal, which I skipped. So the number 14 on here would be wear a sleep tracker. So this isn't necessarily going to optimize your sleep as you're going to sleep, but this will help you collect kind of data on your sleep. I'm not over analytical with this stuff. I just like to know the relationship between what I do versus how my body responds to it. So I used to use a Fitbit, then I used to use an Apple Watch. Apple Watch shattered, and so I was trying to decide between an Oura ring, which I know a lot of clients have, and a Whoop band. So difference between those two things, really they track the kind of the same things. I think the Oura band is a little bit more expensive. You have to pay for it up front. Plus, there's like a small monthly membership fee that you have to pay to be able to see all the data with it. A Whoop band, which is what I ended up going with. I didn't do the Oura ring because again, it was a little more expensive, but also you can't really lift in it, and it's a ring that you're wearing. And besides my wedding ring, I don't really like wearing things on my hands. But the Whoop band doesn't tell time or anything like that, but this also, it tracks your strain, it tracks your sleep, it shows you your recovery for the day and things like that. I'm pretty sure the Oura ring does that same thing as well. But so really any of these things on here, Oura ring, Whoop band, Apple Watch, some Fitbits will track your sleep, and that way you can see, how you slept throughout the night and things like that. You can see the relationship between what you ate. Maybe if you drink some alcohol, we talked about on this before. If I go to sleep tonight, which I won't drink alcohol, obviously, I rarely ever do, my sleep will be pretty good. My recovery will usually be pretty good if all things are pretty good. But if I go have a drink, so let's say I had 6 straight days of a recovery of 80, and I was waking up feeling good, feeling refreshed, able to just smash my day. If I just even have one drink in the evening, could be wine, could be beer, could be hard alcohol, whatever the case is, my recovery is usually less than 30% that next day. Meaning I can't really push myself in the gym like I would really, really like to. And if I push myself too much after that, there's a good chance of injury, or I'm just going to feel like absolute shit the rest of that day and potentially even into the next day. So it's just a good way to, see the correlation between the things that you do and how you sleep because of it. And then this also allows you to kind of optimize things. Okay, when I do X, Y, and Z, I get worse sleep. When I do X, Y, and Z, I get better sleep. So then you can start doing the things that help you get better sleep and avoid the shit that makes you get worse sleep. And then the last thing is make your room cold and dark. So first and foremost, I think I think most people should probably know this, is that sleeping in a really hot room, you're not going to sleep very well. Sleeping in a cold room, for whatever reason, again, I don't know the data behind it, we sleep better in cold rooms. And me personally, I like being all cozied up. I'd rather have an extra blanket and be cold and sleep really, really well versus being hot as shit, waking up in the middle of the night, sweating. And then that second component to that is having a dark room. So not sleeping with the window or the curtains open, not sleeping with the TV on. I saw something recently. I heard something recently. I forgot where it was. Even like your TV, even that little like blue light that's at the very, very bottom. If you have, your phone sitting over here, if you have an analog or a digital clock that says the time on it, even that subtle little light right there can disturb your sleep and make it harder to get optimal sleep. So even though those are very, very subtle things like that, those are things that you can do to help out your sleep. So those are kind of my short list of 15 different things. Obviously, not one person is probably going to be able to do all 15 things. And again, you don't want to have routines that add more stress to your life, because that's taking away from the whole purpose about why we have these routines. But out of these 15 things, you should ideally, and I might even put these in the show notes on whenever I release the podcast version of this, or post it elsewhere. But so you can kind of see those things and kind of come back to them. But so regardless, if you find yourself struggling with sleep, that's why check-ins are really, really crucial, and reflecting each day is ideally crucial. And ideally, when you sleep poorly, you are, as soon as you can, just like if you fall off your diet, if you have a bad night's sleep, we want to lock back into good sleep as soon as we can, ideally the next night. So if you fucked up your bedtime routine, you watch TV, you watch, for me, it's been NBA basketball the past month or two. I have, a lot of those games, they start at 7:30. Sometimes they were starting closer to 9 o'clock, like the West Coast games, and I was up too damn late. So stuff like that, we want to try to mitigate and correct as soon as possible without letting those things snowball. And that's again why we do check-ins. That's why we reflect. So when things are snowballing in a negative direction, we can put a stop to that shit and get it reversed pretty quickly. So with me, I think with the higher stress with it, I just need to do a better job of implementing some of these things and just being a little bit more intentional with what I'm doing with it. But anyway, those are my 15 things. Thoughts, feelings, questions? Sorry, today it was a little less interactive. I just kind of talked at you guys. But anyway, thoughts, questions, anything else? Solely said, I do whose line is it anyway, compilation sometimes. Exactly. Things that are making you laugh as you go to sleep are always a good thing. Is my go-to usually as well. All right, friends. Well, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Tomorrow is check-in day. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Keep crushing it. Hopefully you kind of like the format with it. I know it kind of took me a little bit longer than usual to get into the topic, but I think I would love to start sharing, some more client wins. It'll pertain to all the listeners on here. Maybe even make the people who I'm talking about feel even better about, their wins and stuff like that. But anyway, guys, have a good rest of the week. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys on check-in day. Really, really do your best to try to get those in Thursdays, ideally Thursdays, but Thursdays and Fridays ahead of the weekend. All right, guys, have a great night.